In modern-day Japan, a young high school student, Arata Hinohara, lives a bullied life because of his old middle school fellow Masato Katawaki, who has also joined his school. Despite having a lovely family and only new friend Subaru, Hinohara never gets out of Katawaki's bullying, making him live under his fear all time. One day, when Hinohara is coping with his sad, tormented life, he overhears Subaru revealing to Katawaki's gang about his fake friendship with Hinohara. Since Hinohara truly admires Subaru's friendship, his betraying words hurt him, causing him to lose his trust. Elsewhere in an alternative universe, Amawakuni Arata, a young boy of the Hime clan, is forced by his grandmother Makari and childhood friend Kotoha to act like a girl for the succession ceremony. To follow the monarchy tradition, which happens after every 30 years, only a maiden of the Hime clan who possesses Amatsuriki power can subdue the Hayagami sword, which holds the divine spirits of this world. But because Hime clan did not have a maiden for 30 years, Arata has to act like one in order to save his clan, which will perish otherwise if they fail to present a maiden for the ceremony. However, instead of taking Makari seriously, Arata bluntly holds Hayagami and plays with it, considering it a ratty old sword. Arata's blasphemous act towards Hayagami brings Makari heart pain, which emotionally convinces Arata to get ready for the ceremony. Moreover, the current ruler Himeo Kikuri is getting old and has to leave the throne for someone else for the country's betterment. Despite his unwillingness, Arata agrees and departs with Kotoha for 3 days ceremony until the clan finds any other maiden. On the way, after seeing Arata worried, Kotoha gives him a lucky charm she got from Kikuri Himeo as a present for serving her in the capital. Soon the day of the procession arrives, and Arata presents himself disguised as a female from the Hime clan in front of the 12 most trusted Shinsho and Himeo Kikuri. But before Himeo transfers her authority to Arata, one of the 12 Shinshos named Kanagi attacks Himeo with his Hayagami, intending to kill her. Himeo manages to survive the attack by creating a protective barrier with Amatsuriki's remaining power. The incident shocks Arata, causing him to protest in front of other Shinsho, but to his dismay, it comes out that Kanagi was not alone in Himeo's murder plan. All 12 Shinsho have decided to bring a new revolution by killing Himeo and ruling themselves. Now, when Shinsho's plan is revealed to Arata, Kanagi chooses to kill him, but he manages to escape. After Arata's escape, Kanagi, by stating him the culprit, declares him Himeo's murderer in front of the public. He also sets off soldiers behind him and announces his execution. After hearing the news of his death penalty, Arata runs for his life towards Kando Forest, unaware that this forest consumes whoever enters inside or changes him with another human from a different universe. Soon after entering inside, Arata switches with his doppelganger Hinohara, who, after Subaru's betrayal, wishes to disappear. Hinohara's wish gets accepted by Kando Forest, and Arata of the Hime clan vanishes, leaving him in a new world to deal with Arata's murder accusation. After transferring from Japan to Kando Forest, Hinohara remains confused, but before he understands anything, Kanagi, with his soldiers, approaches him. They release arrows on him and want him to surrender, but Hinohara remains confused, closes his eyes, and gets teleported to another place. There he encounters Kotoha, who was on his search after hearing Arata's betrayal news. Kotoha immediately takes him back to the clan and reveals the matter to Makari. After seeing Hinohara, Makari understands the issue and also clears everything up for him. Hinohara was running from bullying and a friend's betrayal, but things get worse for him, which further upsets him. Just when Hinohara is struggling with the situation, Kanagi also arrives there for Arata's head. He holds Kotoha hostage and wants Hinohara to surrender, but Hinohara decides to help strangers of a new world because of their belief in him as Arata. On Hinohara's denial to surrender, one of Kanagi's soldiers attacks him, causing him to yield to old Hayagami of the clan. However, Kanagi does not fear Hayagami because only Chosen One can use it. When Kanagi uses his Hayagami, called Honora, to attack Hinohara with its powerful flame, Hinohara unexpectedly awakens his family's heritage, Hayagami Tsukuyo, and uses its powerful light kami to stop Kanagi's attack. While Kanagi is confused by Tsukuyo's power, the place collapses, allowing Hinohara and others to escape. Meanwhile, in the real world, Hinohara's mother and sister try to contact him, but they are unable to reach him. Soon they come across Arata from Amawakuni lounging in the open while naked from the waist up. Watching him, they both get shocked but subsequently take him home. On the other hand, Hinohara and others hide in a nearby cave and plan their next move. Hinohara is confused, thinking about how he is able to use divine power. But the answer is simple, as he has been chosen as a Shu, the one who wields the power of deities. Hinohara gets depressed, thinking he is stuck in this ruined world as a criminal, and decides to spend some time alone. In the meantime, we see another member of 12 Shinsho, Akachi, telling Kanagi that their plan has been changed. and now Arata will be convicted before everyone. After Akachi leaves, Kanai finds a person who knows Arata's location and then rushes to capture him. On the other hand, while Hinohara is sitting by the lake, Kotoha arrives with food and tries to calm him down. When she notices that Hinohara is not wearing the matching necklace that Kikuri Himeo gave them, she gives her necklace to him, advising him not to lose it again. Soon Kanagi arrives there, but he has taken Grandma Makari captive, which leaves Hinohara with no other option but to surrender. Meanwhile, we see another member of 12 Shinsho Yorinami telling his assistant, Hiruko, that the world is about to change. On the other hand, while Kanagi is taking Hinohara for the trial, a beam of light emerges from his necklace and opens a portal between the two worlds. After watching Arata standing in his room, Hinohara tries to cross the portal, but is unable to do so. He yells at Arata and wants to know why he killed Himeo. However, Arata reveals that Kanagi was the one who killed her, while the rest of 12 Shinshu just stood by and watched. Hearing this, Hinohara gets shocked and decides to trust Arata. As they both have the same name, Arata of Amawakuni decides that he will be Arata, while Arata of the real world will be Hinohara. Soon the portal closes and Hinohara is taken to his trial. In the presence of 12 Shinshu, Hinohara is not killed, but instead exiled to a place called Atoya, also known as the Ultimate Hell. It is clear that Kanagi is letting him live until he finds the secret of his Tsukuyo. Suddenly, a guard arrives with Kotoha, who snuck into the ship and informs that she will also be sent to Gatoya. When she meets Hinohara, she shows him his school bag and the Hayagami she has secretly taken with her. When Hinohara tries to use its Kamui, nothing happens, but instead, his necklace glows and Himeo's spirit emerges before him. She calls him a new Shinsho and wants him to hear her request. Believing that Hinohara is the only one she can rely on, Himeo informs him that she has been using her powers to keep all wielders of the Hayagami weapons under her control. However, as she's barely clinging to this body, she can't control them anymore, and if the Shu, who wield the Hayagami weapons, begin to use their powers freely, the world will be dictated by power, and the true meaning of justice will be distorted. She wants Hinohara to rule the new world, and to bring his Hayagami before her life ends. However, Hinohara refuses because he does not have enough power to fight, but Himeo insists, claiming that he is the only one she believes in right now. After Himeo leaves, Kotoha encourages him, telling him that he is the last hope in this world. Before they are thrown in Vitoya, Kotoha informs Hinohara how he can hide his Hayagami in his body as he has become a Shu. Hinohara and Kotoha arrive at Gatoya, where the prisoners already know him for killing the Himeo, thinking that if they can kill him, they might leave this hell. Two kids, Kanata and Ginshi, suddenly arrive there, intending to kill Hinohara and begin to fight. Full of confidence, Kanata rushes to attack him while Hinohara tries his best to dodge the attacks. However, Kanata somehow makes a small cut on Hinohara's hand, but he goes on claiming that he did not kill the Himeo. Soon when the whole place begins to shake, everyone shouts that it is judgment time and they must run for their lives. Suddenly, the huge pipes in the building begin to move and devour two men instantly. Watching this, Hinohara and Kotoha become confused, but a woman named Osama approaches them, telling them that Tsutsuga is the warden of Gatoya, as every day he chooses two criminals among them and devours them instantly. Before leaving, she takes Kotoha's hairpin as her fee for the information she provides. In the meantime, all the 12 Shinshu return to their lands, while the people are scared because they do not know what is going to happen to them as Himeo is already gone. Soon as the judgment time reaches again, the building begins to collapse, making Kotoha fall among the huge pipes. Hinohara gets stunned and cannot move, but then rushes downstairs to save her. Hinohara searches for Kotoha everywhere, but when he is unable to find her, he becomes hopeless and begins to grieve on his weaknesses. Suddenly, a shadow appears right before him, telling him not to give up because there are many people who believe in him and he must win. Soon, Osama arrives there and informs him that the red-haired boy Kanata has saved Kotoha from Judgment Time. On the other hand, while Kanata and Ginshi are sitting with Kotoha, we can clearly see that Kanata is interested in her but hesitates to say anything. Realizing the situation, Ginshi leaves Kotoha and Kanata together and goes to get some food. However, when Ginshi does not return, Kanata follows him and finds him lying unconscious near Hinohara. Without a second thought, he gets mad and begins to attack Hinohara. Soon Ginshi awakens and informs Kanata that Hinohara did not attack him, but when he was in trouble, Hinohara saved him. Hinohara takes Ginshi to Kotoha while Kanata goes to fight the men who took Ginshi's ring. After Kanata arrives, the judgment begins, swallowing him and Ginshi in an instant. Hinohara gets frustrated and decides to help them. Even though he knows he will encounter Tsutsuga, who is also a Shu, Hinohara is eager to save Ginshi and Kanata and follows the huge pipes to the lower floor. Meanwhile, Tsutsuga, who has captured both of them, forces them to fight each other as the winner will be declared innocent and set free. However, if they refuse to fight, they will be killed instantly. Even though Ginchi does not want to fight, Kana then begins to attack ruthlessly. Soon, when Hinohara and Kotoha arrive there, they are shocked to see the brothers fighting each other. Hinohara cannot stand this and tries to stop their fight. However, Tsutsuba instantly attacks him and warns him not to interfere in his sacred judgment. The fight comes to an end with Kana purposely losing to Ginchi, thinking his little brother might live his life freely. Even after the fight, Tsutsuba captures Ginchi, claiming that he judges crime where Ginchi has just committed the crime of murder. Hearing this, Hinohara gets mad and frees Ginchi by cutting the judgment pipes. He continues to fight Tsutsuga while Kanagi is also heading toward Gatoya. During the battle, when Hinohara is unable to fight anymore, he begins to lose hope, but then remembers that his friends are looking for his help. Encouraging his Hayagami, Hinohara once again manages to awaken his Kamui and blows Tsutsuga's pipes. Heading towards Tsutsuga, when Hinohara uses his Kamui, the attack reveals the old man's body. Tsutsuga's body appears to be attached to pipes, with one of the Hayagami's weapons stabbed in his abdomen. Realizing that the old man must be in pain, Hinohara grabs his Hayagami, but is taken into Tsutsuga's memories. In his memories, we see Warden Tsutsuba instructing his criminal friend to repent and mend his way. Tsutsuga had faith in his friend, but he betrayed him and stabbed him with his sword. However, it makes Tsutsuba mad, allowing him to become a demon and imprisons all criminals for eternity. Everyone wants Hinohara to kill Tsutsuga, but he instead tries to pull out his demonized sword. The hate in Hinohara's heart tries to control his mind, but he fights against it and manages to pull out the sword. Tsutsuga then submits his spirit and Hayagami to Hinohara, claiming that he has fulfilled his duty and now he will live within his Hayagami. Before Kanagi arrives at Gatoya, Hinohara and his team leave for the capital while Tsutsuga's spirit informs Kanagi that Hinohara's Hayagami is the sword of origin that will rule over this world, leaving him stunned. In the meantime, Hinohara's family is worried about his different behavior and attitude. Thinking his memories have all messed up, they decide to keep him out of school. On the other hand, Kanagi has arrived in his territory called Kabutsuchi, where he first visits his friend Emisu's grave. On their way to the capital, Hinohara and his team somehow manage to reach a nearby land on their broken boat. However, as the capital is still far away, they decide to continue their journey before it's too late. When they follow the smoke coming from a bonfire, they come across some villagers who are moving to the Borderlands. Ginchi suddenly rushes to them as he finds people from his village. However, he becomes more joyful when he finds his mother among them and immediately rushes to hug her. Later, while sitting with a villager, Hinohara comes to know that after Himeo has fallen, a war between the 12 Shinsho might break out, as only one person can reign over the whole country. The most powerful Shu of all will become the great king and rule over the entire country. Soon, Ginchi and his family leave for the Borderlands through a waterfall path that opens once a month. As the path opens, Ginchi holds Kanata's hand and tries to enter the cave, but Kanata stops and is left behind, telling Ginchi to take care of his mother. Watching Kanata being depressed, Hinohara takes him on their journey to Central. On their way, they encounter a wild animal Muru and meet a small girl named Honi. But due to the fatigue, Hinohara gets unconscious and falls to the ground. However, he is taken to Ohika's house, who is revealed to be Kanagi's friend who served the 12 Shinhao. Suddenly, Ohika arrives while holding his Hayagami called Canary, which has the power of forging. Ohika knows that Hinohara is a Shu, but he appears to be unaware that Hinohara is being chased by Kanagi. In the meantime, when Kanagi gets to know that Shinhao Akachi has attacked Kigasu's house and massacred everyone, he instantly leaves for Ohika's village. Even though Ohika is also a Shu, he refuses to take part in the upcoming war, claiming that he is happy to live his life among his people and family. He also reveals that one can become the great king without killing if all Shu submit to one man, just as Tsutsuga submitted to Hinohara. Later, Akachi visits Ohika, while Hinohara and others are instructed to leave the village. The group does not leave, but secretly listens to their talk. Akachi reveals how Kanagi killed Himeo but used Arata's name in committing treason. He also offers Ohika to become his Zokusho, but Ohika utterly refuses to say he has already pledged his alliance to Kanagi and is willing to bear his crime. Hearing this, Akachi gets mad and uses his Hayagami to capture Ohika's wife, Frio, forcing him to submit himself and his Hayagami to Akachi. After Ohika submits himself, Akachi ruthlessly kills his servants and his wife, but before he can attack Hinohara, Kanagi suddenly arrives and begins to fight with him. Even after Kanagi uses all his powers, he does not fall near to Akachi's powers, who already has 5 Zokusho submitted to his Hayagami. The battle continues, but Kanagi is unable to defeat Akachi, who reveals that Kanagi was the one who betrayed him first by killing Emisu, his half-sister. Everything comes to an end with Akachi taking Kanagi's Hayagami, but letting him live until he submits to him. Meanwhile, in the real world, Arata joins the school as Hinohara and encounters Kadawaki. Later in school, thinking of Arata as Hinohara, Kadawaki tries to bully him, but Arata resists and easily beats him up. On the other hand, Kanagi attacks Hinohara and tries to take his Hayagami. However, when he is about to kill Hinohara with Tsukuyo, Kotoha tries to come near them, but the flame of Homura surrounds him, forcing Hinohara to help her. Watching this, Kanagi remembers his friend Emisu, who was killed in this flame. He cannot stand there and jumps to save both of them, but he faces severe pain due to the wound in his shoulder. In the flashback, we see Kanagi with Emisu and Akachi trying to flee from the servants who are revolting. Kanagi and Emisu manage to escape while Akachi fights against the servants. After that, they both arrive in Kagutsuchi and decide to settle down there. Everything goes well until Kanagi gets severely sick, forcing Emisu to look for medical herbs. However, during the effort, she was killed in the flame of Homura, while Kanagi is chosen as its shu. Hearing this, Hinohara offers Kanagi to join them to change the world, while the mysterious 6 shu is on their way to the capital. As all the 12 Shinshu were involved in Himeo's assassination, the mysterious 6 shu arrive at the capital to take care of things themselves. Watching Himeo barely clinging to her body, they decide to deal with Arata and his Tsukuyo, because if Himeo comes in contact with Tsukuyo, she will be revived and they will be done for. Meanwhile, on their way to the capital, Hinohara and Kana spar with each other, while Kanagi examines their movements. Later, when it starts raining, the group realizes they have entered Yorinami's territory because he is the shu of Hayagami of water and can control rain around its domain. Meanwhile, in the real world, Kadawaki gets mad to remember how Arata had beaten him before in school. He destroys everything in his room but gets even madder to see his middle school picture of Hinohara. On the other hand, Hinohara's mother is worried about him and wants to talk to him, but Arata, who had no parents, has no idea how to talk to her. Later he meets Subaru, who apologizes for being weak and talking foul about him, but Arata, unaware of the fact, considers him his friend. In the meantime, we see the 6 Shinshu arrive at the Kanda forest, where they realize that Hinohara must be from another world. However, to eliminate him and his Tsukuyo, one of the 6 Shinshu, Haruna decides to summon someone who must bear strong hatred against him. As he opens the door to the other world, Kadawaki is summoned to this world, but before their bodies swap, Haruna shows him everything that has happened to Hinohara. Later, the 6 shu takes him to a hidden place where a demonized Hayagami, called Orochi, is sealed. Knowing Orochi is the only Hayagami that can defeat Hinohara, Kadawaki places his hatred towards Orochi and becomes its shu. On the other hand, everyone realizes that Orochi is awakened, but Yorinami decides to submit to Hinohara. Later, when Kadawaki confronts Hinohara and his group, Hinohara becomes shocked to see him as he has never expected him to show up in this world. Soon, Kadawaki grabs his Orochi and attacks the group with its power. Hinohara easily blocks the attack but has no intentions of fighting back. However, when Kadawaki mocks him for becoming the great king of this world, but being scum in reality, Hinohara gets mad and loses control over his emotions, eventually demonizing his Hayagami. He then attacks Kadawaki with the demonic powers of Tsukuyo, destroying the mountain, but Kadawaki somehow manages to avoid the damage. However, before Tsukuyo can completely turn into an Onigami, Kokoha rushes to Hinohara and manages to calm him down. Kadawaki plans to attack again, but the 6 shu force him to withdraw as his Hayagami is not fully awakened. On the other hand, due to the fight, Hinohara drops his Hayagami, but Kanagi instantly grabs it and runs away. Later that night, Hinohara reveals his true identity to Kotoha, disclosing how he was summoned to this world and how Kadawaki and his buddies used to bully him in school. However, he gets depressed and leaves for the forest. Afterward, Kanagi gets back to Hinohara and returns his Hayagami, claiming that he cannot bear the weight of his mission and responsibility, but Hinohara feels helpless. The following day, after remembering his memories with Kadawaki, Hinohara realizes they were good friends and decides to change the world with his powers. Hinohara, with his gang, reaches Tamaori, one of the 12 Shinshu Yorinami's land, while Yorinami is keeping an eye on Hinohara's move from the beginning. Without wasting time, when Hinohara wishes to meet Yorinami, Kanagi takes him to the closest yet most commercial town Suzukura of Amawakuni, which Yorinami governs. Soon after the group enters the town, they come to know that Suzukura has passage as well as leaving fees, which means they have to work until their stay in the town. Just when the group is arguing about the work with the gatekeeper Suhiro, one of the important people in the government approaches them. He then takes men to work in the quarry where Kotoha goes to the textile workshop. Meantime, Shima takes Katawaki to Hamiyasu, where he wants him to meet Akachi before encountering Hinohara again. He also shows Katawaki Akachi's brutal rampage on barbarians, which he was restricted from doing before because of Himeo's control over 12 Shinshao's Kamui. After work at night, Hinohara tries to get Yorunomi's clue by talking to Suihiro, but he only learns that Yorunomi is the founder of Suzukura and the person behind the perfection of this city. Later, on Hinohara and Kanata's inquiry, Ruka reveals the bitter reality of Suzukura, which exhibits the opposite face of perfection. Suzukura is not the perfect commercial city. Instead, it is a place where people must knock down each other to reach the top. When Suzukura's reality reveals to Hinohara, he becomes concerned about Yorunomi's governance, but he, along with others, decided to flee the city. Elsewhere, Katawaki wishes Akachi to help him in his fight against Hinohara, but Akachi denies, declaring him a weak opponent and pops his eye out. Meanwhile, at Suzukura, Hinohara's gang reaches the city's gate, but Shinshu arrives there. Shinshu then reveals his true identity as one of Yorunomi's servant Hiruko, and tries to stop them from escaping by attacking with his Hayagami. To battle Shinshu, Hinohara also brings out his Hayagami and defies his attack, making him value Hinohara. Without fighting further, Shinshu surrenders, declaring to betray Yorunomi for the sake of the city's betterment and to bring old Yorunomi back, who only cared about his people over money. By stating this, Shinshu asks Ruka and others not to leave town and help him against Yorunomi. In the meantime, by bowing in front of his mother's water sculpture, Yorunomi makes a commitment to get Hinohara's Tsukuyo Hayagami of origin to become the great king and ultimately appease his mother. In order to achieve the task, Yorunomi, with his water powers, takes Kotoha hostage, causing Hinohara to rush toward Yorunomi's Tamayora no Miya. As soon as Hinohara crosses the gate, he remains stunned to find Kotoha enclosed in Yorunomi's created water sphere. Finally, Yorunomi also shows up and offers Kotoha's freedom in exchange for Hinohara's submission to him. Yorunomi wants to force Hinohara to submit to him and gain the throne of a great king in order to please his mother, who has never appreciated him before. In a flashback, it reveals that Akachi, after popping Katawaki's eye out, witnesses his envy against Hinohara and lends him his unique eye. Once Katawaki gets Akachi's support, he sets off to battle Hinohara again. In the present, Yorunomi, with his great Hayagami powers, is in a fight against Hinohara. He keeps attacking Hinohara with his Kamui, but Hinohara's Tsukuyo bears every attack. During the fight, when Hinohara gets off guard while watching Kotoha, Yorunomi, by availing the opportunity, applies a time reversal technique and traps him in his Mizuho Water Dragon sphere. To defeat Hinohara, Katawaki arrives at the moment with his Orochi, but he also gets trapped in Yorunomi's time reversal technique. During the time Hinohara is trapped, Yorunomi keeps on showing him his mother's illusion, forcing him to submit to Yorunomi, but Hinohara manages to break free of the technique by disobeying his mother's words. He then sets Kotoha free with his Hayagami, resulting in Yorunomi remaining in shock. After hearing Yorunomi talking about his mother's harsh behavior, one of his mother's old servants steps forward and reveals the truth. Yorunomi's mother was well aware of his kind nature, and that's why she was rude, since she wanted him to be a strong leader after his parents' death. When Yorunomi opens the box his mother loved and left for him, he remains shocked to find the necklace he made for her as a child. After his mother's true feelings revealed to him, Yorunomi apologizes to his Zokoshu for his impolite behavior. But before the happy ending meets, Katawaki, breaking Yorunomi's technique, shows up with rage against Hinohara in his eyes. Katawaki's wicked thinking tempts Hinohara to turn into a demon and battle him with the intention of murdering him. But Hinohara persists in trying to change Katawaki's mind. The battle of light and dark begins with Katawaki's Orochi evolving and giving Hinohara a tough time. When Hinohara does not burn with hate against him, Katawaki's Hayagami evolve with envy and attack Hinohara without wasting any time. No matter how hard he tries, Hinohara fails to get out of Katawaki's bullying fear, resulting in him standing low in the fight. However, Katawaki enjoys Hinohara losing and attacks him with Great Orochi's demonic powers, causing Hinohara to defend, but he still fails to cut the attack. When Hinohara is losing hope to win, everyone's belief in him lights up the flame of motivation in his heart. He tries to nullify Orochi's Kamui, but his Hayagami lacks the attacking power, making him only defend with all his strength. Seeing Hinohara losing, Yorunomi decides to submit to him and gives his power for Hinohara's support. After having Yorunomi's power, Hinohara manages to nullify Orochi's Kamui and defies Katawaki's attack. Katawaki never thought of Hinohara getting out of his fear. In a flashback, it clears that Katawaki and Hinohara were friends, but when Hinohara intentionally lost to Katawaki for his friendship, it destroyed everything. Katawaki took Hinohara's friendly intentions wrong and thought that he pitied him. From that time, he gets against Hinohara, and in no time, their friendship turns into enemy bullying. To kill Hinohara, Katawaki releases Orochi's ultimate Kamui, which Hinohara counters with Tsukuyo. But Orochi's evil powers fail in front of Hinohara's belief in others and will to make everything right. The attack pushes Katawaki away, causing Tsukuyo to shine like a sword of a real king. Hinohara finally awakes Hayagami by overcoming his fear of being bullied by Katawaki. After knowing his real strength, Hinohara again attacks Katawaki and easily defeats him for the sake of people who believe him. Hinohara's victory makes Yorinami's Zokushu follow their leader's path and submit to Hinohara. The light wins over the dark, but Hinohara's victory upsets other Shinshou who wait for his coming. Six Shu also gets afraid of Hinohara's power and decides to take him down together. To battle the evil and change Katawaki's heart, Hinohara yet has to travel a long distance in a different world.